Muchísimas gracias por sintonizar a Talking Rock en Español. Estamos transmitiendo desde la ciudad más feliz del mundo, Anaheim, California. Yo soy su servidor, Héctor Robles, y a mi lado está
Cristian Mejía.
Y vamos a hablar rock en español.
Thank you again for tuning in to another podcast of Talking Rock en Español.
Episodio número 7.
Yes. And this time our guest is Jorge Gonzalez from ETV, which we are going to be talking to him pretty soon. Right now, I just want to go ahead and make a couple of announcements, for some of the dates for some bands that are performing this weekend. It'd be really cool for you guys to check them out and support the local scene.
Yeah, and these are obviously just the local stuff that's going on here in Los Angeles, but we'd like to invite other bands if you're in Puerto Rico and Canada and Mexico. Mándenos las fechas donde van a estar tocando y nosotros las anunciamos también. Entonces, hay una sección en nuestro sitio de internet en INTOROQ.com donde dice contacto y mándenos la información y nosotros lo anunciamos. O sea, no cobramos. Entonces,
no cobramos. It's all about supporting live music and your local talent.
All right. And so go ahead and let's announce the shows for this week.
Friday, the 23rd, Vin Fuhrer and Evelina will be performing at Garnachas over at 8755 Parthenia Place in North Hills, California, 91343. It's an all ages event, and it's $10 at the door. At the same night, a very fun band, de veras que se la van a pasar muy bien en este evento, es el conjunto Nueva Ola, que se presenta en Roberto's Nightclub. Este viernes.
In Chinatown, right?
Es, sí, cerca por Chinatown. Y es acá en Los Ángeles y 686 North Spring Street. Y tengo entendido que los boletos son $7 pre-sale. Creo que los pueden comprar en grouptickets.com o y son $10 el día del evento. Otro de los eventos de que está muy bueno, que se va a poner muy bien, es las chicas de Go Betty Go, este sábado en el Troubadour. La dirección es 9081 Santa Monica Boulevard y es en West Hollywood. Visiten la página de internet de The Troubadour para darse para el precio del
para
evento.
El costo del evento.
Y también aquí mi co-host Hector se estará presentando con Experimento 56. ¿A dónde, Hector?
Vamos a estar en Los Ángeles, en una parte que se llama All Star Bowling Lanes. Si van a nuestro sitio, que es experimento56.com, pueden encontrar las fechas en donde estamos tocando. Vamos a tocar también el sábado en Moreno Valley, California. Como bien mencionado, si van a nuestro sitio, allí están las direcciones, el mapa y toda la información. Y se deletrea Experimento sin la E. Eso es X y luego experimento56.com.
All right.
Eso va a ser todo por los anuncios. No, ¿sabes qué? Casi se nos olvidaba. Tienes la entrevista de Kinky que hiciste. Vamos a pasar esa entrevista y luego después de la entrevista seguimos con nuestro
guest Jorge Gonzalez de ETV.
Ok, y así va la situación. Pégale.
First of all, my name is Christian.
Carlos.
Okay,
nice
from INTOROQ, and pleasure to see you guys perform. Host of Talking Rock en Español, and obviously, I've seen some of your footage. One of the things actually that has gotten my attention from you guys have been very successful in getting your music into so many movies.
Yeah,
How did that come about? Where did it start?
I think that started from the first album. Since the first album around in 2001, we started to come a lot to play in Los Angeles. The music was getting a lot of attention. They were playing in a lot of college stations from all California,
yes,
and some on the East Coast too, and they started to invite us to play on these like corporate shows or like art openings or stuff like that. And I think the music supervisors were really into the music, And from there they started to offer not only to use the music that we had already on the album, they also wanted us to come into the studio for some movies, and like Men on Fire or stuff like that. and they wanted us to come into the studio and like just play and compose with the movie or with the whatever was happening there. So we always love that. We always love the movies. We always love all the art that goes around, all the film arts, no?
And
From
it basically
commercials
it makes
to-
a lot of impact. Also, watching all of these movies, like Man on Fire, and there's some other ones. I think it's like you guys have like 11 movies, if I recall.
Something like that. I
It's
don't.
been a little bit hard, but I mean, congratulations
Thank
to
you,
that.
thank you.
It's quite an accomplishment, especially from a band from Mexico. It's such a great honor. One of the other things is also like in the podcast that I do is basically I cater to most of the local bands here in LA.
Oh,
is
cool.
there anything that you like to give them an advice, any tips, any pointers on?
Well, I'm not the one to give.
I mean, from your point of view.
I think Los Angeles is an amazing city. People the music business is always ahead. I mean, of course, there's all kinds of music and stuff, but like when it comes to electronica, when it comes to cutting edge, I think Los Angeles is way ahead, or they're always on what's going on, or what's the future of electronica, what's the future of music, and I think like the bands that have that hunger and that it's like something they wanna accomplish something new, like us, like we live here, and I think we're obsessed about the sound,
Okay.
We're obsessed about the engineering,
Okay, I'm sorry. Actually, I thought you guys were living still in Monterey, but you guys do live here now.
We've been living here for like 8 years now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
So
That's really-
we're a lot about the sound. We're a lot about checking new sounds, checking new bands, what they're doing, and it's just great to be here. I think there's no formula for everything. It's just you have to search and search.
Yeah, and it's really awesome because you also do fit in with the Angle crowd. Like, more than you have a lot of American fans that follow you guys, and that's really awesome. And I really do like the sound that you guys have, and very
Thank you,
original, very
thanks.
original, man.
Yeah, I think that's something that we didn't think about. It's a thing that transcends the language, and that's very cool. Especially when you play live. It's something that it's when you see like bands singing in English, or when you were a kid and us, and we didn't know what they were saying, but they're communicating. It's important to communicate with the music and with the whole thing on stage.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
time, and it's a pleasure having you and talking rock en español, and we wish you guys nothing but the best, man.
Of course, thank you for having us. Thank you.
All right. Take care, man. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
All right, so we'd like to go ahead and welcome Jorge Gonzalez from ETV. All right, Jorge. Thank you, man. Thank you for coming by. As to me, I see you as one of the biggest contributors also that has done a lot of work into the Spanish rock scene, especially here in LA, but can you take us back into the beginnings, like how you started, your first band and how it developed into becoming ETV? So,
Well, thanks for having me here today. It's glad to see you again, man. It's been a while,
yes, it has.
and nice meeting. I'm sorry, I forgot.
What's up? It's Hector.
Hector. There you go.
Hector.
I met him once at the
Conga Room.
The Conga Room.
Yeah.
But anyways, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I started playing guitar in Mexico when I was a kid. I wanted to be a drummer, but it's hard to purchase instruments over there, so I decided to go from drums to guitar playing. Long story short, built a guitar, my first guitar as well. Got the all the guts, the picks or the pickups. I'm sorry, the wiring and all that, and put it into another guitar that we built, and it was good. It was good for a while. It's just like everybody else who has come to this country, left Mexico, looking for better opportunities with my family, and started back in 89, 88 with a band called Ruinas. Then from 91, 92 with Audio Control, which is the band that we played for almost 10 years.
With Audio Control, it was basically it was rock en español, right? And was it also the same with the previous band? I mean, because I know your background, you really enjoy Motley Crue. That was one of the biggest influences. Did you wanted to get into English, or you knew that you wanted to go ahead and do Spanish rock?
Never tried the English side of music. Always try to stick to Spanish. as you can hear, for good reasons. But no, it was always, our goal was to do something in Spanish that was kind of like Anglo-sounding. I don't know if this is wrong to say, but more Americanized rock. And then you start developing your own sound. So to answer your question, no, I never try to do it in English, always in Spanish. That was the whole thing.
What's up?
Do you have anything?
Hector!
Well, I'm actually just intrigued and to listen to his story because you sent me some information about him, and I was looking at his channel, the ETV channel, and it seems really like a really cool idea to have all these bands there. But fuck, man, it looks like a lot of work.
I have to say that I did go to your studio. I did, you had
Bunch of times.
a bunch of bands, and I was fascinated, of what you were doing. It was just something very fresh, something very new.
What year was this that he was doing this?
This was back in 2008.
2008.
Wow, how much money must it cost then? Because I know editing software and like cameras have changed so much that it must have been thousands and thousands of dollars.
I think Christian is one of the few people that has been in the studio more like behind everything. We did a lot of things with Neblina and we were doing we did that
the commercial,
that
For
magical movie, incredible performance on the big screen. It wasn't so much that we had at our disposal a lot of software or anything like that. It was more mechanical. It was manual work. We set up the cameras and whatnot, lighting, but just to play videos on the show on ETV, we had to. I keep saying the show, and then JC is going, yes. We actually had a DVR, a camcorder with all the videos already recorded onto tape. So Nacho Luquin, the drummer from Audio Control and Nova, he was switching the cameras with a regular switcher for like an Xbox, those little TVs. So the image would just go bang, like jump every time, the context,
So you basically did a lot of what's the word I'm looking for?
Ghetto rigging?
No. You were it's like
creative.
You guys were, very creative like a visionary. Like you just,
out of necessity, I guess.
Yeah, you have
That's pretty badass though, man. To be able to like shit. I don't have the money to buy that. I'll just make it. I mean, that's pretty badass.
All the things that, and I'm serious, most of the things that we put in ETV is all coming from the 99-cent store. Like audio couplers, stereo cables. I mean, everything we got it from there. I was of the idea, if we're going to put something, I don't, because we were not making any money out of it. It was all out of pocket. So we were trying to invest as little as we needed to, but use all the equipment that we already had on hand.
It looked pretty professional. If you wouldn't have told me that, I would have had no idea, man. And I guess that's what really matters, the end product,
Well, that was in 2008. Then it started to get a little bit of a following. We had, in 2008, like 32 bands. We used to do it every Wednesday. Every freaking Wednesday. So it took me about 3 days to line up everything from, sound check to...
This is pre-production, right?
Yeah, pre-production. Passing all the videos with the editing software and then, outputting it to the camera. All that took a lot of time. Towards the second instance of ETV and the last one we had, we finally bought a video controller, a video switcher. We got better equipment at that point, but just to do the exact same thing we were doing, be able to play videos and whatnot as kind of like commercials.
But besides all of this, Jorge, one of the things, take us back how you came up with this idea. Where did it come from? Can you share that with us?
Of course. There's a band, saludos para Mayo, Mark, and Greg Ciccone. There's a band named Lick. They used to be called, Luna Cuatro, and then they became Iman and then Lick. These guys, I forget what I think we were rehearsing for a show at the Westchester or something like that. And they came to the studio and ETV is actually Extrema Studios. They were rehearsing, and I told them that I've been toying with the idea of being able to catch these rehearsals on the other side of the world, and I mounted a camera, and they were, playing, and Mayo called his mom in Vegas, and they were like, yeah, we can see you. It was like,
So it was like a Skype that you guys were doing, right?
Yeah. There was there's a place called, I think it was Camp Frog, and besides the Ustream, there were like a few other ones that only allow you to do like up to 10 people could watch the show.
Okay.
So when we launched it, and they said, you know what, we saw you guys. It was great. So that's when, where it started pretty much, after having these guys rehearsing.
So this was before Ustream then?
Honestly, don't know. I don't know how long ago Ustream was launched, but I know that I kept looking and looking until I found Ustream. I come across Ustream, and then I started doing tests. And I remember I talked to Mark from Lake, and he said, I asked him to join me as a co-host. He was there for like the first few months. He said, George, I want you. This is Mark. Georgie, I want you to have something on the back, like a star. So there you go. The whole night I'm painting this huge, humongous star, and I'm like, Mark, log into the site. The site was like kept secret for a while. So are you there? Yeah. And then I would turn the lights on, and his words is like, dude, I didn't expect this thing to be this huge. The star is huge.
I was going to ask you about the star because I saw that picture and I'm like, what's up with the star? I guess he's telling us now.
And he goes, I thought you were going to put like a little star behind. I'm like, no, man, we got to put something big because on camera, a little star, you won't be able to see it. So I did the star. It took, the whole night, just a lot of attempts because there's no template to do it that big. So I had to really draw it freehand. And if you see one of the pictures that I posted on Facebook, it's perfectly centered on the wall. Like there's the beam. Once I remove the ceiling, and the beam is right in the middle of the star. It's like, it's amazing.
Yeah, if you can share that, we'll go ahead and post it up also on our site so people
yeah,
can
of course.
see,
Yeah.
What you were talking about. But it was a really cool start. I mean, that was basically, your trademark. When I would go into the studio, it's like, ETV is just that star. But it symbolized a lot of the stardom of all of the local artists. And it was such a really cool thing, man.
It got to a point where, Deborah, my wife, she's been so involved with everything that I've done. She always, at first, doesn't like the idea of doing new things, of spending money, like let's paint it a different color. But then she told me, hey, let's go and paint the studio. Let's change the color a little bit. So I posted it on Facebook. Let me know if I should erase the star, because I was this close to freaking painting over the star. And
so this is just recently then?
This is before I did the last ETV.
Okay.
The last ETV, which was in May of last year, I think, with Sonsoles. Yeah, when we started.
Yeah,
we started Cinco de Mayo. Actually, it was May 4th when Sonsoles played. Right before the show, I almost erased the star. And people were like, no, don't touch it. Paint everything else. Don't touch the star. So it's all beat up, man, but it's a nice little...
But still there.
Still there, of course.
No, I don't think you can erase over that, man. I mean, like I said, it just symbolizes something. It's part of history, man. It is the history of rock and roll, from the scene that we've been building here.
You know what? And kind of to kind of elaborate more into that of the scene and all that, I really think that I'm very selfish when it comes to what I do. I got to be honest with you. I probably know a good 95% of the musicians in the scene. They're all friends. We all know each other. So when I did the ETV and started showcasing bands and all that, it wasn't just like, let's put a band and do it all as professional as we could. As you know, ETV really didn't have any script. It was all, we were just winging it. And you can tell right away. I was like failing miserably every night trying to like come up with things. But it was more in an effort to have my friends, come to my house and play and launch it. And we were always drinking beer, always cussing and saying whatever, because that's the freedom we had, right? So it was more having a good time than saying, oh, I'm gonna try and become something in the local scene,
No, I don't see it. I think it was more like you were showcasing them. You were able to, you had the tools. Before the tools, you had the vision of what you wanted to do, and you feel like that was the perfect opportunity. It's like, here are my friends that I know. They're in a band. It's the web. Let's reach out to the rest of the world to see what's going on in here. But it was just amazing.
It was funny because it's a little studio. It's good to record drums. Like you can put the drums in the middle. You get a good sound out of it. The funny thing is, in that little room, you were there when The Soul played.
Oh, it's a great band, by the way.
It's a great, amazing band. The place was packed inside. The backyard was kind of packed. We had like 30 people in this freaking studio. And just to man cameras and coordinate, it was like 6 of us. I mean, between myself and and everybody else on the show. And then bringing more people, we're like all up against the wall, seeing these guys perform right there, and such an amazing sound. So, and that's the thing, ETV wasn't like, okay, we get there at 9, and by 10:30 it's done, everybody goes home. We would stay up to like 1 o'clock in the morning, drinking and eating and just watching
Having
the video
fun.
over and over, having fun. Yeah, it's a good experience.
When you look back at all the bands that you recorded and all this stuff, and you see where the scene is at right now, does it sadden you a little bit? Or I mean, because you contributed quite a bit to the scene. What's your take on the scene as of it right now?
I think we all have contributed, from the smaller bands to the better bands. Kind of, if you were to gauge it in or measure it in sort of like following. I had the opportunity, like just like a lot of my friends, to see Pastilla, Maria Fatal, and Curanderos perform the same night at the Westchester, and it was packed. I think, not that it saddens me, I think it goes in like cycles. It goes up, down, up and down a little bit. I think what saddens me more is that as musicians, we don't make an effort to advertise this more outside of Facebook. People think that, we're going to post it on Facebook and everybody's going to know about it. You still got people that goes to almost extinct record stores, like CDs, plays in music stores. They're rehearsal studios. People don't know that another band is playing. So all those things, I think the hunger to be heard and to expose your music is going down a little bit. I think it's gonna pick up again, but right now it's kind of a little shaky. So it's not being saddened.
Because during that time, obviously, prior to Curanderos, Maria Fatal, Pastilla, there was no Facebook. There was no MySpace. MySpace was actually just coming up, 2002, 2003 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I do recall a long time ago, and this is before I knew, before I got into Spanish rock. I remember seeing Pastilla flyers, like at Tower Records on Sunset. And that was the place I used to go and pick up my music. And I did look at it and stuff, and that's where I used to pick up La Banda Elástica. Also, it was a great magazine.
Bazooka magazine.
Yeah, that used to contribute, But that's one of the things I also noticed, that people don't go out of their way to promote themselves, to expose themselves.
I think technology has made it a very comfortable place to be, where you call your bandmate, hey, don't forget you got to advertise. Oh, yeah. Facebook and boom, boom. Hey, guys, go in, little flyer on Photoshop. Boom, there you go. Now 1,000 people are going to show up. I think technology has done that, where we get too comfortable and don't really look for new people. You're happy if you see the same people that see you as friends, supporters, and all that. But you want to see people that haven't been exposed to your music, to get new fans, new followers. I think it's necessary.
That is kind of like a riddle that hasn't really been solved too well, because we had, actually, me and you, Christian, we had discussed one of the shows where you printed 5,000 flyers. And it's like, well, how much more can you possibly do, man? Like, I don't know. He really promoted the shit out of that show.
I did. I honestly did. There was one show.
What, do you lie to us all the time? Is that why you honestly did?
No. But what happened was, a while ago, I had a showcase. I had a show with La Santa Cecilia, Don Juan and Los Blancos, Cinema.
Yeah,
and
that's the one at the King. What's it called?
No, that was over at the Face Dodo.
Face Dodo.
I did promote online, like everybody did, like everyone does, but I also promoted heavy on the streets, and it was a successful show. Obviously, it was on a Saturday night, sold out. It was like a great event. 2 years later, I do the same thing, but it happened on a Tuesday night. I print out 5,000 flyers and I promote the shit out of this show. I promoted it, like fucking heavily, man. All right. I had the Tinderbox, a band that was actually coming from South America.
May they rest in peace. The Tinderbox.
I just heard about.
Yeah, that's just recently, right?
Yeah, but over 5,000 flyers.
Nothing.
2 people showed up at the show on a Tuesday night.
Where? What venue was this? And
It was the venue where I was actually hosting the shows here in Orange County.
Was that
it was,
Ember?
No, it wasn't at Amber. It was over at the Juke Joint. It was starting to pick up, but it was on a Tuesday night. It just
This is the thing. This is the thing, and I think we know that this is the case. The best venues won't give you a Friday night or a Saturday night. They always give you a Thursday, a Tuesday, and the problem is people want to go out, but also they know they got to work the next day. That's one thing. Second, obviously it is a business in the end, and everybody's got to make money. But what really puzzles me is that people want to go to a show and not pay at the entrance, but they go and drink like 20 beers inside. It's like, you in order to make something succeed, everybody's got to
contribute.
Yeah, and they got to contribute. Bands obviously need to get paid, promoters need to get paid, and the place needs to see a good number of people showing, so they know that their beer sales and all that are there, so they know it's worth it. If it's on a Tuesday night, it's gonna be tough to get people in. If it is on a Friday night, but you have like Super Reventon, whatever, forget it. We played one night when I think Jaguares or Caifanes was in the area, and we had like 5 people. Wow. Then after it ended, everybody showed up.
But it was like the after party.
Yeah, the after party. So it's one of those things, man. I think we all complain as the audience. We complained there's no good music out there.
But you're not willing to pay.
But you're not willing to pay to see them and listen to other bands and explore what's out there.
Another thing too that I was actually discussing this with our bass player, because I had heard that somebody, and I think through Christian, that somebody up north in Northern California had put together like a band alliance where like bands got together to be able to pull more of a fan base. And I think you had told me about that. Was it not you?
No, that wasn't me.
No, well, somebody told me about this, where these bands would get together, and then, I mean, they're playing the same genre, and instead of competing in separate places, they, would put like a show on Friday night and a show on Saturday night, and it would be, they're not competing, and they're all pulling in the same exact type of crowd.
So they're pretty much supporting each other.
Yeah,
right?
and so they did that, and it really interested me. So I was talking to our bass player, and we're trying to put something together like that to get some bands like that. And I think that might be, something that could also work, because it's not like a union, but it's more of like, are you going to be trying to steal my fans and I'm trying to steal your fans when all the fans can be there and we can have a bitchin' ass party,
Yeah.
And then the venue wins because they sell their beer. We win because we get to introduce our music to their fans, and they get to introduce vice versa, the situation. And so everyone wins kind of in a situation like that, and the bands have a little more power when saying, yeah, we know we could pull 100 people to that club. No, it was just something really interesting that that had come to mind.
I think that could be done. The only problem is how many bands can you showcase on one night? You would have to make it that it is the same venue and every band gets a chance to perform. You know what I mean? The downside is this, and I saw this just as a quick reference. I saw this a lot on ETV. Bands would play, their people would check it out, and the whole thing was, hey, don't forget next week or next month, tune in to support the following band. They weren't there supporting so it was more, what we were trying to do was for bands to support each other. Bands did their thing, promoted their gig, and then when they played, they forgot about it until there was an opportunity to play again, or
So it's just kind of like give me.
Yeah, it's gotta be give me and here you go, give me and here you, a little give and take,
But I mean, the music business is full of that, dude. Like, and this is something that comes back to me meeting Christian. I realized asking myself, because I had called Christian to try to get some shows because he was promoting some shows here in Orange County, and I was like, okay, well, I need to start making phone calls and trying to get our band to play in these different places. And I found myself that I would only call him when I wanted to get a show. And it's like, well, this guy was fucking cool to me, man. Why am I only contacting him when I want something? Why don't I just call him and say, hey, what's up, dude? What are you doing? You want to go to a show, or just go hang out, have a beer? And that's kind of how, our friendship kind of grew with Christian. But I find that a lot of bands are like that, and promoters as well. It works where they just want everything from you, and then once they get everything from you, it's like, I'll talk to you later. It's not even a friendship, it's not.
Exactly.
And I think that that's a big mistake from a lot of us, that we need to build friendships with people, and not just be like, hey, give me. It's like, hey, do you guys need stands, man? I got some stands if you need to borrow them. Different things like that. And I think that is part of the problem in Spanish rock, that everyone is trying to get their own, and not being like what Freddie said last week. Not supporting each other, and not going, even if you're not getting anything out of it, man.
It's like playing in a sandbox and not sharing the toys.
Yeah.
Like little kids.
Right.
But I really think the key is what venue you're showcasing your bands. I can tell you that if you go to like the Mayan or Mayan, whatever, or the Giggles, you'll see a lot of our people there dancing, because they only go see bands when their friends are playing. They don't go see bands because they want to see bands playing. They're not really, a lot of people are not too interested in seeing live bands perform. They're interested in going out and partying, going to Hollow's Bar or whatever, and Giggles and whatever,
But that's still cool, though. I mean, because if they're going out, then you're, at least as a band, you're like, all right, I know that that's where the crowd's at, so I got to get my ass over there and play over there. So, I mean, at least we know that there's, people going there.
Yeah. But my point is, you got to have a venue where you can offer the best of, both. A venue that you feel comfortable sitting down and having a beer or a nice drink, and then bands also perform the same night. You need a place.
And this is why we missed the Westchester.
Yeah.
That was kind of like the spot that it was known for, rock en español.
Correct.
And,
Correcto, señor.
Now we don't have a lot. And also one of the things I noticed is like most of us don't even want to go to the Strip and perform, either at the Whiskey, at the Roxy, at the Viper Room. It's like a hassle. I mean,
what's
it's like
the point, though? I mean,
I mean, it's pay to play, first of all, and then parking situation.
Oh yeah,
and it's
like
just,
$15 to go to House of Blues.
And you know what? The sad thing. I mean, great venues, great sound, but it's just the attitude, man, that they give the bands.
Yeah.
And like.
Yeah, it's like
I miss the Westchester, man.
Yeah. You gotta feel comfortable as audience, and you gotta feel comfortable as a musician performing. It's sad, but the support is still not quite there, especially from the big places.
But I think that a lot of these venues aren't willing to invest, because it really is an investment for them to say, you know what, we're gonna have once a month a Spanish rock Saturday night, and I think a lot of they don't allow it to develop. Yeah. And it's like it's kind of like baseball, man. You have to have a minor leagues in order for it to get to major leagues. I mean, everyone doesn't become a bumburi, overnight, So these.
I have my own little reservation with the bumburi thing. I think it's like super burned, played, and mimicked and imitated and then you flip them over and then imitate and mimic again his bottom side, flip him over, clean it up again, and let's do bumburi again. I think that's the mentality we got to get out of. We can have bands, trying to aspire to be. I mean, I know you're coming not from being bumburi, but from being kind of well recognized as bumburi, as Soy Stereo, whoever. But we need to keep moving and evolving. It's something else. It is tough. It is tough. The economy hits everyone equally. The economy, people used to go out and drink and party a lot. I see a lot of people that will go out, and it almost feels like they're there just waiting for their band to play, and then they go and grab the beer, and then they sit down, and then they mingle with the band, and then they take off. It's again, bands with their little group of followers, but in this type of economic times, you try to spend as little as possible. So you just go, and have a beer here and there, and then as soon as your band plays, take off because you got to work the next day.
But
it's really sad.
That even works with the bands. I mean, I've seen a lot of bands where as soon as they finish playing, they take off. And that's pretty messed up. I mean, I try to stay as late as possible till the very end to watch all the bands. Even if I don't think that they're good bands, there's always something you can learn from the other bands. I've seen shows where I'm like, man, that sucked, but you know what? That drummer was badass. Their drummer was just phenomenal. Or I would just say to myself, all right, he completely messed up in this situation. I need to make sure I don't do that shit when I go up on stage. So I mean, it's kind of
inwards constructive criticism. Like I'm
well,
criticizing this guy and I'll apply it to myself.
no, it's not even a bad thing. But I mean, you could always get something good out of going and supporting, the scene. Sometimes, I mean, like I said, you'll see shitty bands, and sometimes I've been very surprised with other bands that I saw that I'm like, wow, man, that band just fucking took the whole night. And so I mean, you'll be surprised by just going to these shows. And really, $10, if you don't have $10 to go out and see a show, then you probably shouldn't be going out seeing shows, man, because you can't even buy the beer, and I think that a lot of people, like you said, they're being very, very tight with their money, should I say.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I kind of find it like
I think we're just by talking about this whole thing, going back to does it make you feel sad to see the scene like this? I don't think the word sad applies. I think frustration applies more. I think we're frustrated that we see so much talent right there, so much potential, and
nothing's happening.
Nothing is happening.
And
it's like the freaking Dodgers, man.
I think it has a lot to do also, though, with the media situation. I mean, even though we try to say no, it really does apply, because a lot of the Latin media here in Southern California is very regional Mexican music, and you don't really get the opportunity to even showcase until recently with La Super Estrella, finally at least giving a glimpse to rock en español. I mean, I'm not saying that they're, because they're still playing, oldies but goodies, but at least they're doing something,
Yeah.
And I think that there needs to be more independent people like yourself coming out and putting on a show, man. And it's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen with the big companies. The big companies, for the most part, aren't going to lift this rock en español back up again. And I think it's people like you that put stuff like that together, quality, and just love the passion of it to be able to bring the scene back up.
One of the things that I think Christian can attest to this is that we did 3 ETV shows at the Westchester, live from the Westchester.
It was really cool. Very cool.
And it was packed. It was
really
freaking
cool.
packed. We were with a microphone talking and all this gang of people like, hey, it's just, it really felt good. It felt so good. I think you guys that are doing this podcast now should consider, putting something sponsored by, INTOROQ, a little gig where it gets coverage, it gets media, and then invite people to come over and share their, experiences or how they feel at that particular moment. Like go to the crowd, talk to them, do something live.
You know what? I'm actually going to go ahead and take that in consideration, when the time is right, because I did get an opportunity to cover some of these events that were taken off. Obviously, like, with the Super Estrella.
Yeah.
I really loved it, dude. It was really cool. One of the downsides, not from Super Estrella, it was the reporters that were coming in.
Oh, yeah, they're just going to be hot pieces of asses. There's not...
Hold on. Seriously, I was so upset because they didn't know who was performing.
Holy shit.
They were questioning other reporters. Who is this guy? What does Mikel, what does he sing for? I'm not going to announce any of the media people, that were there. But it tells me this is really fucked up.
It's pretty sad.
If you send somebody over to cover an event and you don't know who these artists are and what they have done and what they have accomplished, maybe you need to give this spot to somebody that knows what is going on.
Yeah.
And you know what? The next day, there was not a lot of stuff out there that got published.
And you know what? I gotta give
That's what really pissed me off.
I gotta give you some credit, Christian, because when we did that interview with Hot Dog, you knew all this shit, man. This guy was going into like your video that you did at this place and that spot. I'm like, damn, this fucker did his homework. And
it's good.
And I mean, I think a lot of the media, like he was saying, isn't doing any homework. I mean, they don't even know who the hell's playing. So that is the problem with the media situation as of right now, I think, too. So,
I mean, no, and that's a bright idea, man. I actually didn't even think about it until now that you're bringing it up.
Yeah.
I was a promoter. I'm like, you know what? That's right. Let me go ahead and put up a show together, invite the media to see what it is. See. So
don't do like a Q&A. Don't do like a little bit of, do more a live show. Mm-hmm. You guys got to sponsor it. for what it's worth, you know that you gotta print the banners and the posters and all that and do the publicity, but it's going to eventually, it's going to grow. It's like snowballs. It's gonna keep going, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It seems to me that people need an incentive. That's the problem. If I want to go there, what am I gonna get? So if you start bringing people, because I know now you're connected, fucker. I know you're like, you got like a couple connections. Now you can bring that, nice reporter with a piece of ass, like he was saying, and now you can say, look, let us show you what the scene is all about, And that's how they'll start thinking later on, hey, we have this show, maybe we can use these guys for this. And everybody, it's a win-win for everyone, I think.
Yeah. This guy's got a good idea, man. We should bring you on the
It's really
podcast
good
more
idea.
often.
It's really good. I'm seriously,
There you go.
I'm like brainstorming right now.
Since you were mentioning that you record music and
In the nude. It's in the nude. Everybody's going to be naked.
Wow.
Let it flow.
And he showed up all the time, Christian?
That must be really hard, dude, by recording
hard.
drum
Trust
tracks,
me.
because you hitting that snare, you could easily have a major accident.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you're like Tommy Lee, like, oh, I lost my, oh, here we go. Ah, wrong one. Yeah.
Then you get hepatitis C all over the snare
Exactly,
drum.
yeah. Thanks to Pamela.
Hey, well, I was going to ask you about this because I think this is something that a lot of us bands really do not pay attention to. And especially, I had this situation with me as well, pre-production of recording. If you can tell us how important that is. And
It's really important to know if you are in a band where you have to go into a studio and they're going to charge you per hour. The last thing you want to do is like, okay, we'll go to the studio, we'll wing it, see what comes out, and then we'll start fixing it. You want to go as prepared as you can into the studio, with what your music should sound like. You got to have a clear idea.
But a lot of people go into the studio thinking that they're already polished off, but it's like a microscope, man. Once you go in, you're like, fuck, I'm nowhere near.
Yeah, no. And by all means, you're going to go into the studio and somebody's going to say something, somebody's going to do something, and that's going to trigger like what happened to Christian a few minutes ago. Then all of a sudden you're like, wait, we can do this a little differently. But at least you have a certain idea as to where the song is supposed to take you. If you're trying to go in and like, I have the verse and the chorus, I don't know how to finish a song, we'll just wing it. You're going to get that out of, a studio nowadays will maximize whatever you put in, you'll get out just polished. One of my friends says you put a turd into the studio, you'll get a polished turd on the way out.
Exactly.
That's how it works.
If I may, you as a recording engineer, and I think you can produce as well, correct?
I've done a couple things.
So my thing with bands, it would be more like, okay, get your recording done at home. And show it, to the person that's going to be recording it.
Yeah.
So he's aware, and this is kind of like what we're talking about, like, pre-production. Okay, you go into the studio, hey, listen, this is what I have. What do you see? What can we fix? Or what can we take away from it?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not going to take much of it, but it's like, you work on those small little details, right? Because once you're in the studio, it just drags and drags. And
$50 an hour.
When we work on the audio control CD, it was all done at my actually, excuse me, and we used to live in an apartment. So one of the rooms was the studio, quote unquote. We did the drums on Melrose. It's called Silent Sounds. And then took the drums into the studio and did the guitars. And it shows like that. It is pretty much a homemade recording. I feel that those were great songs, just on my behalf, not quite done the way they should have been done. So when we were working on actually writing the songs, we recorded our first demo with Mark from, Lick. And he did that. He's like, George, this sounds great, but let's take this part. It does nothing for the song. It goes into this little kind of peak, and then it drops again, and it doesn't build up to anything. So let's take this out, just put it back together. And he did a few kind of production ideas. That's always good, but it shouldn't be to the point where somebody comes and say, no, let's redo the whole thing. If you give it to a producer to listen to, obviously the producer is going to listen to it and be like, hey, I have all these ideas, and he's going to charge you for those things.
Yes.
That's the problem. I mean, it is, if you expect to get something good out of a studio, you gotta pay for that. If you go and I just want it like this, I just record it. That's what you're gonna get. There's a limitation to everything.
Well, there's one thing that I noticed on some songs that I had written. I thought I was ready to go record at a certain time, and my buddy told me, he's like, hey, well, why don't we just record you on the guitar here, and just so we can hear it and see where you want me to add this or add that. So we just did it at the house. We just pressed record and we recorded this stuff, and then I listened to it back, and I'm like, wow, well, maybe I should add another chorus here. Maybe I should take this. So you can actually do your own production work, because when you're playing it, you think it's gold,
Yeah, of course.
But then you listen back to it and you're like, oh shit, well, maybe this is a little too long and this is a little too short. And so I think that even before you even decide to give it to a producer, I mean, listen to it yourself, and then you could still rearrange the song, because I've had situations where, I think I'm completely polished. I go into the studio, we lay down the entire drum track, and I'm like, you know what? This shit was way too long, or like
Metallica.
Well, it was just too much, and it's like, now that shit just cost me $40 an hour, and it's trash, and it's like, I can't afford that, and I'm sure that a lot of bands can't afford to make those kinds of mistakes either. So it's, to me, like in the pre-production end, it's so smart to just grab a little handheld recorder and record yourself playing it, just to listen, to see the structure of the song, to see if that's what you really want to lay down.
Exactly.
One other thing on the studio end, just because we have you here and it's so exciting to be able to talk to
you go
an
to
engineer.
You go to Extrema Studios and like, okay, let's sample all this shit.
Well, the other thing that I find that a lot of bands will do as well is they'll spend thousands of dollars recording because they're not well rehearsed.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, just mix it down, dude. Half an hour, mix the whole thing down, and we got to get it out of here. And I think that that's like one of the biggest mistakes, because you can literally make the entire album from add a little delay here, add a little, a muted guitar here, and like those little things really actually change the whole song.
Complement the song.
And what's your thoughts on that?
First of all, the one, and this I learned also from Mark. A lot of the things that I learned, I read a lot about, the theory, how drums are supposed to be mic'd and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Then you get the human touch. Like, yeah, you're supposed to do it this way, but I personally like to do certain things this way. And if you pay attention, it does this for the song. Just speaking in kind of like pretty broad, terms. One of the things that I learned from Mark, and it is a very true, is you cannot mix after spending hours in the studio. You need to give it at least 3 to 5 days. Rest your ears, completely forget about what you're listening in the studio, and then go completely fresh back to one song and start tweaking it. You can't mix in half an hour or right after you finish recording. It's impossible. Your ears gradually start to lose that.
Everything becomes the same.
Yeah,
like,
it
and
gets
you
muddy.
feel like you feel like it's right, but it's not.
And to all the people that will listen to this, then you start cranking the volume, and then you're like, I can't hear anymore. And now you're almost to like 11, and it's like, dude, that shit is loud. Bring it down. Like, oh. So you gotta really record everything. Be very technical in regards to the sound itself. Make sure that everything is mic'd properly. There's not a lot of bleeding from the snare into the hi-hats, or, which is worse, the hi-hats into the snare. Some drummers, they play right here is the hi-hats, and then right here is the snare, and then right here is the floor, the tom. So you got, I mean, seriously, like, this is my
so
separation.
compact, yeah.
One of the things that I asked, like, for example, Nacho, I go, Nacho, how high can you play with the hi-hats? He goes, oh, I can go as high. So he has the hi-hats like right here, and the snares like this low. And that separation makes the sound. It really
changes things.
Changes everything.
I never thought about asking the drummer to see how high he could play the...
Yeah,
the
hi-hats are your
cool.
worst enemy if you don't know how to tame those suckers.
No, because usually you just, I just tell all right, the drummer, hey, go sit over there. The engineer's going to be over there, and he'll mic it up, and engineer just shows up and he mics it up. I never even thought about asking.
Well, have you ever seen pictures of like drummers or when the musicians are in the studio?
Oh, yeah.
It's a whole different.
There's nothing. It's not flattering. It's really like
it's a whole
putting a little
setup.
comfort on the kick sometimes, because you get a lot of bleeding into the mic. They do crazy things. the
Yeah.
studio. They do crazy things. I mean,
That's why me personally, I hated it when they recorded my drums for the bands that I used to play. I said this before, but I really wanted to pay somebody to do them. I didn't want to deal with them. To me,
Yeah.
it was just a nightmare, man.
Well, it's a
And,
different type of art, dude. Like
And,
the studio.
I felt like, you know what? I just want to play live. It came to the conclusion where I was like, you know what? I think I'll be a better drummer just playing live.
Than
in
doing studio sessions?
Yeah, studio. No, I couldn't. And ironically, that's one of the things I wanted to do. I wanted to be a studio drummer.
it's
Imagine that.
being in the studio. It's such a different experience, regardless of the band. Just setting up the mics. When I'm setting them up, I see the guys kind of like standing around, goofing around, be like, "Hey, look, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing that." Just so I don't feel like I'm all by myself, doing all these things. And they also don't get too bored and sidetracked, because then they start playing with the phone, and instead of like being focused, if a musician gets involved in the whole process of miking the drums. Where's Hollywood? Bring me Hollywood. Come on, Hollywood. There we go. Come over here. You're a good boy. If the musicians get involved in the process of miking the whole thing, they know what to avoid. Like, they forget that they're in the studio. They got to control their hits more. There's a certain area in the snare where you want to hit. Otherwise, you'll get this uneven sound when you hit more closer to the rim and whatnot. So those are things that I kind of point out to them, so they know. So they feel like, okay, he's spending way too much time on this. Now the pressure is on me to do a good performance. That kind of makes them more conscious or whatever, or aware. There you go. It'll make him aware of the level of kind of like focus that they need to put. They gotta be
professional.
You gotta be professional. Even though it's a shitty little studio, you gotta be professional, because once you're done and take the drums apart, you go home and then you go, I fucked up right here.
Since you've been doing this for a while and stuff, I think it's also a good thing where we can say that, any bands listening, how can they get in touch with you if they want to record, if they want to do something?
First, you need to do a pentagram from the floor, a couple candles.
I'm out.
And then you're going to pray. No, I'm kidding.
He wants to draw the chivo.
They can hit me up on Facebook. My phone, everybody knows my phone number. We don't charge $40 an hour, $50 an hour. For my friends, I always do $25 an hour. And that's only so when I pay the electric bill, it's there.
You cover it.
It's just
the expense.
They can call me 562-261-4397, I guess.
So
which is like 50,000.
We'll put a little link underneath so they can click on it on the podcast description.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I don't do the studio work solely. Like it's not my the kind of business I'm in to record. I do it weekends. I do it after hours, like after 7 p.m.
But you're willing to help out. Like, if
course.
it's a band that's just starting out, you could kind of give them some sort of a guidance, advice, and
of course,
bands can get to feel what it's like to be in the studio.
Not only that, but I really love doing this thing. I love doing it, and when somebody comes in, I spend the same amount of time with a starting band and with somebody who's more kind of like professional, you can say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't cut corners. I really like to, if you show your stuff to somebody, say, hey, this is at Jorge's place. It's like a business card. You want to make sure that you're
your
well
name
represented.
Your name is going into it. Yeah. So
What do you think? Just I guess changing track a little bit here, Jorge. ¿Qué piensas de que tiene que pasar en el rock de español ahorita para que se mueva en una dirección positiva? ¿Qué crees que necesita que pasar?
Te lo voy a responder en español para que...
No, y empecé a hablar español porque debe de ser un show en Spanglish.
Bilingüe, bilingüe.
Ya no había nada.
Yo pienso que, digamos que 3 cosas tienen que pasar. Bueno, digamos 4. La primera es que lo que voy a decir lo tenemos que aceptar como una observación.
Y poner atención.
No soy una persona, no tengo un status que digas, oh, yeah, everybody knows Jorge. It's not like that. Pero yo, siempre he dicho las cosas como las miro, y si estoy equivocado, me gusta que alguien me diga, hey, yo pienso que estás equivocado, y el debate y todo eso, ¿no? Pero bueno, esas son las cosas que hay que verlo de una forma constructiva. Las 3 cosas que tienen que pasar es, 1, tenemos que hacernos mejores músicos. Tan sencillo como eso. Hacerte mejor músico significa que tienes que aprender a tocar bien.
Ensayar.
Y una cosa que siempre gets overlooked, el tipo de equipo que usas.
Yeah.
Si usas yo tenía crates, yo tenía shitty little amps. I'm not saying Chris are bad, because there's some like Voodoo
Oh, yeah.
brand, whatever. Tienes que tener un buen amplificador.
Tu
Una
equipo-
buena
tu
guitarra
equipo tiene que ser profesional.
tiene que ser profesional. Ahora, mucha gente dice, son caros. Bueno, estás en este negocio para tocar por tocar, o estás en este negocio para desarrollar tu propio sonido. Si aprendes a tocar bien, por ejemplo, así te lo digo bien abiertamente, se lo digo a la gente. He estado mirando los postings que pone Christian de María Fatal con su nuevo, no sé si va a ser un CD o algo que van a...
Se van a presentar.
Una presentación.
Ya, se van a presentar.
Tú escuchas una canción de María Fatal y escuchas a Ernesto en su guitarra y rápidamente sabes que es María Fatal. Tiene un sonido bien que se distingue, ¿me entiendes? Es distintivo. Entonces, uno es hacerse mejores músicos con todo el equipo. Dos, tienen que promocionar hasta donde ya no. Promocionar hasta donde ya no. Facebook no es la única parte donde puedes promocionar.
¿Qué otras ideas tienes tú de promociones aparte de como Facebook y flyers?
Yo pienso que lamentablemente no puedes ir a decirle a una persona al oído, hey, mi nombre es tal y este es mi número y vamos a tocar tal día, porque la gente se va a ir, no me acuerdo si se llamaba Pedro y su banda se llamaba algo así. Tiene que ser algo, o sea, tiene que ser un flyer. Tiene que ser, yo pienso que un flyer en la mano. Ahora, ¿qué es lo que hace que la persona lo rompa y lo tire o se lo guarde? Es como tú le expliques a la persona en el momento. Si le caíste bien, si hablaste bien y le picaste un poquito la curiosidad, entonces la persona lo va a doblar, lo va a guardar, tal vez va y te mira. Obviamente no puedes ir a comprar radio time, airtime, porque cuesta ya sabes, ¿no? Entonces, tienes que hacer lo mejor que puedes hacer con lo que tienes a tu disposición. No puedes, obviamente, como te digo, Facebook es una cosa, está a tu disposición, pero es una herramienta que no es la única. Hay más cosas que puedes hacer.
Una de las cosas que acabas de mencionar ahorita, de que necesitas que usar lo que tengas a tu disposición, se me hace muy importante que mucha gente no lo usa todas las cosas. Como si tienes un amigo que hace stickers, agarra un chingo de stickers y ve, llévalos a la tocada de donde está María Fatal,
Yeah.
y en cuanto vayan saliendo a dar tu sticker. Una cosa que noté yo recientemente cuando tocaron los Caifanes aquí en, ¿cómo se llama?
Arrowhead Pond.
Honda
Honda
Center.
Center.
Ok. Yo en mi computadora, porque no tenía mucho dinero, hice 200 CDs.
Ajá.
Le escribí mi nombre de experimento56.com y el email de contacto. Puse 3 canciones y me fui al Arrowhead Pond.
Ujú.
Y después de que salió todas las personas
A pasarlos.
a pasar los CDs, se me fueron en 5 minutos, se fueron 200 CDs. Estaba like, fuck, man, I should have
made like
put
500.
more shit on a credit card. I should have gotten more CDs. And a lot of people say, well, how do you know that worked? O ¿cómo sabes que eso fue un éxito? Y se me hace que sabes que las personas que están yendo a ese concierto les gusta el rock en español.
Correcto.
Se están yendo directamente a su carro, les estás dando un CD con tu nombre y la información. Si no, no vas a tener una oportunidad más perfecta que... A mí se me hace que...
Yo pienso que pasarlos ahí es mejor que pasarlos en una junta a los Ku Klux Klan, ¿no? Sale el Ku Klux Klan con su gorrito y soy rock en español, aquí tiene mi CD.
No, pero...
Tienes que ir al lugar tienes que ir al lugar donde no vas a ir a ordenar tacos a un McDonald's. Tienes que ir a un lugar donde está congregándose, juntándose a la gente a la que le interesa ese tipo de música.
Y otra cosa que se me hizo completamente hasta ridículo fue de que era el único que estaba parado allí dando cosas.
Pasando cosas.
No había
Lo creo,
promotores.
¿sabes por qué? Porque a la misma vez cuando hicieron todos los eventos de Super Estrella, no habían otras bandas
Pasando CDs.
pasando CDs o pasando flyers.
Y
era una perfecta oportunidad para hacerlo.
Y eso es lo que estás diciendo tú, de que no tienen hambre. It's like, tienes razón, porque como en el evento, uno de los eventos más grandes que se reúne Caifanes en el Arrowhead Pond con miles de personas allí, y yo soy el único que está dando CDs, a mí como que se me hizo un poco raro la situación.
Pero por lo menos tú aprovechaste la oportunidad.
Sí, pero se me hace que, como te digo, que ¿cómo es posible que nada más yo sea el único que está dando eso? Si es un
Porque
género...
tienes hambre, tienes hambre y tienes dedicación, tomaste la chance de ir.
Que me arrestaran.
Well, no
Pues Anaheim
necesariamente.
Police, lo que ha estado pasando recientemente.
No,
Ya.
No, pero...
Luego te disparan, luego te preguntan qué estás haciendo.
pero hiciste lo que tenías que hacer para que tu nombre se identifique. You did what
Para
you
que se
had
dé a
to do.
conocer.
Pero se me hace que
Recognized.
nosotros, como todas las bandas que están escuchando, necesitamos que hacer esto. Necesitamos que ir a estas tocadas de los grandes y empezar a dar nuestros discos, porque como había mencionado también en otro podcast, de que mucha gente dice, no, lo tienen que comprar, bla, 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 pero nadie te conoce, man. So, necesitas que usar tu música y gastar tantita feria, aunque no los imprimas profesionalmente, pero ya por lo mínimo la gente tiene algo en la mano, se mete a su carro y dice, shit, me gustó eso, ¿quién es? Lo sacan, está escrito allí, experimento56.com, van al sitio y por lo mínimo ya saben dónde estás tocando y toda la situación. So, se me hace algo que todos nosotros grupos necesitamos que hacer, ir a las otras tocadas, no solamente a soportar la escena de rock en español, pero también para promovernos.
Sí.
Identificar de que hay un movimiento.
Claro, claro. Hay gente que no sabe que esto existe.
You know?
It looks like it's time to close out the podcast here.
Is this when we get naked? Is this when like... Oh, no.
That's the wrong podcast.
Yeah, that's
You'll edit everything out of
that's
it.
Christian's second podcast. It's not
I
this.
see.
Yeah, it's always sad, man, because we got to close it out, and like I say, it's we want to keep on talking because it's
But,
such
we can do it again though, man. Like, once you get your band going and like,
Yeah, of
it'd be
course.
cool, for you guys to stop by and
We'll make Nacho
do-
talk. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh God.
Well, la cosa es que... It just goes on and on. Nacho's good. It's a good guy.
Yeah.
We definitely want to thank you, for giving us those tips on recording and stuff like that. And with the ETV situation, what's kind of going there?
With ETV, we have no plans right now. We're not really thinking of doing ETV in the near future. But if it happens, it always happens like one day I just wake up and like, you know what? I got to do ETV. I go into my studio and I start rewiring it. Because I always do remove the things that I can replace right away, like wires. That's, okay, ETV is done. Remove the wires. But the cameras are in place. The lights are in place.
If people want to watch what you have done, though, where can they go?
They can go to ustream.tv/ETVonline.com. I think it's ETV-online.com. I think that's that, or ETV Ustream.tv channel.
Well, you know what?
Ustream
You know what we'll do?
We'll put a link.
We'll put the link right on
Why
the
don't we
website.
just all with putting links everywhere?
So if you go to INTOROQ.com, we'll put a link right underneath the podcast number, so you can click on it, or you can copy and paste it into your browser.
And share it with the friends.
Yeah, share it with everyone. We definitely want to thank you for coming in and giving us all this information to all of us, out
It's
there that are
very
listening.
valuable, man. It's very.
I'm having a lot of fun with you guys, so anytime.
Yeah.
And any other questions you might have, Christian, here before we wrap it up?
No, I think he covered most of it. So again, thank you for your time, and we'd love to have you again. When your project is up and running.
We'll do something. We'll do something. Obviously, we gotta make sure that the audio control thing takes off. If it does, we'll definitely be here.
Cool.
We'll be here for
Very
sure.
cool. Thank you
All right,
again.
thank you,
again,
man.
All right.
And that will wrap it up for us today. Thanks again, George, and you have a good night.
You too. Thank you, guys. 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 You too. Thank you, gu You too. Thank you, guys.